You have friends. That's good.
Ticket gate with a screen. Just touching the barcode on the screen, when you see the green light, it means you can go ahead. You can use each of them. I'm working this side on the left side, so I'm waiting for you. Behind them on our left.
Okay.
With the right.
Τι ναι, είχα πάει.
Σε ένα ταξίδι είχα πάει.
Sorry, madam. Sorry. Είχα πάει. Όταν ήσαν στο Σούβαρντο τα παιδιά.
Α, μόνη σου, όχι με. Μόνη σου, όχι με.
Όχι με τα παιδιά, ταξίδι έξω. Στην Ελλάδα ταξίδια ναι. Αλλά έξω.
Πού είχες πάει όταν ήσουν?
Είχαμε πάει στην Αυστρία 20 μέρες. Όχι στην Αυστρία με αυτοκίνητο, με τη μαμά μου. Είχαμε πάει στην Ιταλία.
Quindi sarà poi successivo.
ready? Come on, let's go.
It's just a ramp, right? I can do a ramp. You tell me it's stairs. where we are. We're like right over here. There's the dome. We're like right over there by that, right by that post there. So guys, we're right by that post that you see right there, and this shows the whole thing here. At least it's air conditioned. Huh, better than outside. Brunelleschi's, yeah.
I didn't like the second dome is outside, surrounding the first one, and it's this amazing decoration for the basilica.
How long did it take?
So, actually, yeah, the entire basilica was built in more than 100 years. But Michelangelo passed away during the project. He didn't see the dome completed. So the dome is the tallest building in Rome, and the basilica is the largest Catholic church in the world.
I wonder, is that by law as well now?
Yeah.
I thought so. No, I respect that.
That.
I respect that. This is the.
So it's a very special symbolical
Yes,
place.
of course. No.
It's a vertical connection between the St. Peter's tomb, the altar into the basilica, the canopy and the dome. They were built on the original tomb of St. Peter. That's why they have a very special significance.
I'm gonna get some water.
Exactly. That's why currently you can't see it.
You wouldn't want somebody messing around with that in between. You wouldn't want somebody messing around with that chimney otherwise, right?
What's the chimney?
Is there something we should know?
So, do you want to take some water? Do you need to refill your bottle of water?
Oh, just this.
Okay.
That's a nice breeze.
So, ready to go?
See. Oh, yeah.
It was made by Romans in the 1st century BC. The pine cone originally was just a decoration for a public bath built in the city center of ancient Rome by Emperor Augustus. Then the pine cone was uncovered during an excavation, and because it's a very monumental object, it's about 4 meters high. But mainly because of the significance of the pine cone is connected to prosperity, new life, eternity. The pine cone was moved in the very center of the medieval St. Peter's Square, and it was turned into a fountain. This was the fountain for the main blessings, used as a real fountain during the entire Middle Age. Pilgrims and Christians used its water to purify themselves before entering into the St. Peter's Basilica. The medieval St. Peter's Basilica.
Came as a novel. If we make two novels, magnificent room, we see at the end of those 9 buildings.
And so is this. There's a kind of a mechanical machine in the underground, in the floor, and the globe is also connected visually and ideologically to the globe placed on the top of the St. Peter's Dome. That's the same material, is gilded bronze, and is about the same size. They are 4 meters large.
Wow. The size is so deceptive. It's so deceptive how big it is from here.
Yeah.
That's neat. That's a neat way to give perspective to people.
Very famous.
Now,
The artist is already living in Bologna, north of Italy, and is in 1990.
because we're now reaching the planet's place over there, just to show you something about the decoration painted into the chapel, and then looking ahead. But by walking, if you take a look to your right, you're gonna have the best view of the Renaissance perspective view, the Renaissance facade. On the top of the walls, you can also read an inscription with the Pope's name, Pius Quartus, Medices Mediolanens. It means that he was a member of Medici family from Milan. And that's the Pope who built in 1550 this facade, and who embellished the Pope's palace on that time. So, let's reach the last big block
Over here, their names are minted out that nobody's ever heard of.
Just to show you quickly the decoration painted on the chapel, we're gonna see it. What's inside. It's just to give you an idea about the monumental project designed behind the decoration of the chapel, because the entire decoration was designed to celebrate mainly the main books for Christians. Sir? Sir? No. Come here. Okay, so the current Sistine, the Sistine we're gonna see together, can be regarded as a composition of three projects painted during the entire Renaissance age, the late 1400 and the entire 1500. The first decoration, so painted in the late 1400, when the Sistine was built. The Sistine was built in 1477 on the project of Pope Sistus della Rovere. That's why the name Sistina, because of the Pope's name. So, the original decoration is the decoration that you're gonna see painted on the walls. This one was painted in the 80s of the 1400, 1481, 1483. The decoration is dedicated to two stories mainly. You're gonna see on your left the main events in Jesus' life. On your right, the main events in Moses' life.
Okay.
Jesus and Moses are celebrated as the personification for the New Testament and the Old Testament. The painters who painted this decoration were the greatest on that time. We are in the crucial Renaissance age. The Italian Renaissance age, they were the greatest. They came from Umbria and Tuscany, the greatest schools of painters on that time. One of them, Pietro Perugino, was the teacher of Raffaello. Another one, Domenico Ghirlandaio, was the Michelangelo's master, and there was Sandro Botticelli, two very famous ones from Florence. Once inside the Sistine, you're gonna recognize Jesus very easily because he's painted wearing the same dresses. So he's always painting wearing a red dress and a blue mantle. Moses instead, on the other side, is painted with a yellow gilded dress and a green mantle. So you can recognize them
Interesting.
very easily. 20 years later, this decoration, Michelangelo arrived in the chapel. So if you want, you can follow my explanation on your map. The ceiling was painted by Michelangelo just during 4 years, 1508, 1512. And at that time, Michelangelo was a young artist who was about 30. He had no students, no helpers. So he painted this one completely alone. And this decoration too is actually a monumental celebration of a very special book for Christianity. The main story plays in the very center of the ceiling. So just to give you an idea, the Sistine is 21 meters high and 42 meters long. The ceiling is totally painted. They are the same dimensions of the Santa Santorum, the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. The Pope wanted to celebrate the connection, the ancient covenant between Rome and Jerusalem. So the story is the Genesis. So that's the story of our creation. According to the Holy Books, of course. The story is composed by 9 panels and we can divide them into 3 blocks. The first block, this one, is the creation of the world. And we can recognize the creation of darkness and light. There's the creation of the stars and nature. And the creation of sky and land. God in this decoration is placed in the very center and is divided them. Is divided the elements. Second block, this one, that's the creation of humanity. Creation of man and humanity. And that's the most famous panel, creation of Adam. You can see it better over there. So, creation of Adam, creation of Eve, and the original sin and the expulsion from the Garden of Eden. The panel, this one is divided into half by the tree before the temptation and after. What's the peculiarity of creation of Adam and the entire Michelangelo's project is the specific using of human bodies. In the chapel, for the very first time in our history of art, we can see that painted as a real man in flesh and bones. Michelangelo was the first one who used human bodies to celebrate God and the creation. On that time, Michelangelo was a sculptor, so he studied human body. But he mainly studied the ancient statues sculptured by Romans and Greeks and placed in the Pope's collection. So he was very inspired by the classical style. During the tour, we're going to reach the original collection of statues of Pope Julius, so you can compare the Michelangelo statues with inspiration. The last block is dedicated to Noah's life. That's the global flood, just to show you Noah's Ark. Because it's not an ark, that's the Sistine Chapel. That's a mention of the Sistine Chapel. The Pope wanted to celebrate the Sistine and symbolically the Roman Church as the place of our salvation. And observing a self-sketch, this one, because Michelangelo was a writer, he wrote a sonnet because he wanted to describe how challenging the project was. That's why he added a self-sketch. So observing this one, we can note for sure, for the most period of time, Michelangelo was not laid down on his back, as you can see in the movies. He was standing, so he painted this position,
Oh.
standing on the top of the scaffolding. Once inside the Sistine, just for observing the ceiling, you're gonna feel it harken before your neck, so you can catch better how challenging the project was. The story is framed by a very complex composition, and the composition too, this frame, was designed and painted by Michelangelo as a kind of a religious embrace. We can recognize a prophet and a civil, a prophet and a civil. They are alternated during the entire frame. 25 years later, Michelangelo came back for the last decoration to be painted on the outer wall. Once inside, you're gonna see this decoration behind you. And that's the very famous Last Judgment. This decoration was designed and painted between the 30s and the 40s in the 1500s. It was officially inaugurated in 1541. On that time, Michelangelo was turning 60. Notice how different the using of the colors and the main composition is. Last Judgment is the final day of our lives on earth. It's a very dramatic and crucial moment for Christianity. That's why this decoration is so dynamic and vibrant, and the using of the colors too. Because that's the Last Judgment, we can recognize a double dimension. There's an heavenly dimension here and a terrestrial dimension here. In the heavenly dimension, there's Jesus, Mother Mary, the saints and the angels, with the main tools of Jesus' passion. In the terrestrial dimension instead, the bodies, the souls, they are waiting for the judgment. And Jesus, because he's judging them, is moving them. Jesus is moving the good ones on one side and the bad ones on the other side. That's why, observing the composition, we can recognize a vortex of bodies. They are moving up and down. Because by this gesture on this side, the gesture was something like this. In this corner side, the good souls are safe, so they are leaving their bodies on earth and they are flying to reach the heavens. On the other side instead, by this gesture, the bad souls are punished, so they are falling down, reaching the heaven, and that's the entrance of the hell. Just to focus your attention on a peculiar character. If you come closer, you can see it better. This one, San Bartholomew. So that's the personification of St. Peter. And the St. Peter's face is the official portrait of the Pope who commissioned the decoration, Pope Paul III. So that's a very special appreciation. But this one instead, San Bartholomew, he was a martyr. San Bartholomew was skinned alive during the early Christian age. He was punished because he was a Christian. And because he was skinned, we can recognize his own skin and a knife. But if you try to compare these two faces, the skin face to the Bartholomew's face, can you notice how different they are?
Who is it again? I don't remember. It's been a long time since I...
So the skin face is actually the official Michelangelo self-portrait, because the artist was not allowed to sign, so he decided to paint himself, just to mark his own project. And originally, when this decoration was inaugurated in 1541, the bodies were totally naked, all of them but Jesus and Mother Mary, of course, because that's a mention of the Holy Books. In the books is written, we're going to be nude in front of God and Jesus because they are the judges, so they were totally naked. Just 25 years later, because the Roman Church was changed and society too, and their rules made an artist, Daniele da Volterra, was a Michelangelo's friend, he was officially required to cover and dress these bodies up. So currently you're gonna see them wearing clothes, but originally they did not. And because of this project, this artist also had a nickname. We used to call him Braghettoni. Braghe in Italian are the pants. So Braghettoni means the painter who painted the pants. And we can recall him just for this project. Do you have questions? Yeah.
I seem to remember from a class in college that he did a portrait of someone that he didn't like very much.
Yes.
Over in the lower right-hand corner, right? Was it the guy who was like the supervisor of it or something?
Kind of. So that's a very good question. This one. That's officially Minosse, the judge of underworld. In Dante's Inferno, Minosse divided all the bad souls in several groups in categories. But Mino's face is the realistic portrait of the master of the ceremonies in the Pope's palace. He really disliked the Michelangelo's project, and Michelangelo was very upset. That's why he painted, because Viaggio da Cesena, that's his name. When he saw the decoration, he was very impressed in a negative way. Exactly. He saw officially and publicly, that's a shame. All these naked bodies in an holy place, I can't see them. And Michelangelo was so in the 17th has.
He was 60, and he was tired. And he was good, so why bother him?
With the donkey's hair.
Nice.
And that's his never-ending punishment.
I thought I remembered that, but I wasn't sure. That was 40 years ago I took that class.
Michelangelo had a very bad temper. We can read it in...
That's why he's a good artist.
Exactly. That's why he was a genius.
That was the class I took in 1981.
I couldn't do it. It rained so much all the time. Also didn't have time.
Step up.
So in a topic collection, and that's Everywhere. Raffaello too used it in everything. Raffaello too used it everywhere. Leaving the steps, please keep your right. We can wait for the rest of our group, observing a very special view of the city from above. You can go closer, you can enjoy the nice breeze. So this area of the Art Museum its name was Belvedere Palace. Belvedere in Italian means nice view, a beautiful view, and observing the view through this window is very easy, you can see. The first book decided to move here for painting. In the late 1400s was both for Vatican, but the very first one to commission the renovation of this place was Pope Julius II, the same Pope who wanted Michelangelo to paint the ceiling in the Sistine Chapel. The medieval palace in his own residence, and Leonardo da Vinci came here for study and he lived in this palace. Do you need to go to the restroom?
I'm gonna go.
One of you? No.
Is it okay if I go?
Yes. I'm gonna go to
What's that?
Raphael's cherubs.
Switch the receipt, the original chapel, the 15th Okay, so take a look. Madam, there's a very special view of the city from above. As you can notice, just to give you an idea about the monumental project behind this palace, if you take a look to the arch, what is the specific direction? This arch wanted to guide us, turning left, because in the 1700s this area was totally renovated as the entrance of the Vatican Museum.
Okay.
Now we're going to see lots of rooms totally renovated in the 1700s when the palace was turned in the current museum.
I have no idea how you keep track of the fact that there's someone missing.
Pardon?
I have no idea how you're keeping track of the fact that there's someone missing. You have mad skills.
She's young.
Not so much. Thank you, but
Compared to us,
Yeah.
you're very young.
Baby.
we can talk about it. And two more. We will miss your
So, I'm assuming you study at the university?
Yes, so I studied and worked as an archaeologist. Actually, I'm a doctor in archaeology. And I did lots of excavations in Italy, and then I studied art and contemporary and modern history to do this job.
Who's your favorite modern artist?
Pardon?
Who's your favorite modern artist?
I don't have one.
There's too many.
Yeah. There's a very special painting I love very much. It's painted by Guido Reni. It's the portrait of St. Matthew. It's a very impressive portrait because it was painted in the early 1600s when real art entered in art. So real life entered art. So it's very impressive. The using of the colors, the shades. So it's very
Nice. Oh, scusa. Yeah, the young guy. Yeah, there he is.
He was close to me when we were moving through the steps.
He does that.
मेरे को बाहर लेफ्ट पे लेफ्ट आगे जाके लेफ्ट पे मेन सर्कल पे लेफ्ट चौरिया चौरिया
This place is also the very beginning of the history of Vatican Museum. The first of statues was placed in the Pope's Garden. This place, the Belvedere Garden.
Came back. When they found it was a Jewish shop.
Oh yeah.
They knew what this picture was
Character from the Greek myth. Remember the story of Troy? The city was burned by the Greek army. So Laconte was the main priest in the city of Troy. As a priest, he had a premonition. He soon advanced the fire and he tried to reject the Trojan horse. That's why he was killed and punished and killed actually. By two enormous explosions sent by Athena when they had the Greek gods. The statue is dedicated to this specific event. Laconte is dying, that's why it's so dramatic. This statue is an original Roman statue sculpted in the 2nd century AD. This statue is 2,000 years old. And it's very impressive because the style is so realistic and dynamic.
Yes.
This statue was uncovered during the excavation in 1506. And when Pope Julius visited the excavation, he was so impressed by the style. He wanted the object to be moved here. that's the inspiration of the Michelangelo style. Studying this statue, Michelangelo decided to use the classical style to paint God in the creation of the world, God and Adam. That's why it's so crucial.
Except it was his style. I mean, it was classical, but then as interpreted by him.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Classical style.
Reimagined.
Exactly. In a very Renaissance style. So more dynamic, more realistic, but it's very. This object is very, very impressive.
So now that wasn't the neoclassic period, because that was later, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's been a while.
That's about 300 years before the neoclassic.
Oh yeah, of course, but yeah.
Ready to go? Do you have questions? Or curiosities? So, we are now approaching another 1700 gallery. Designed and renovated in the 1700s when the palace was turned into the current museum. We're now entering the so-called Marble Zoo. Just trust it, Marble Zoo is just a collection of animals. That's why Marble Zoo, and that's why all the statues. And they were placed in the same gallery just because they have something in common. When you are ready to leave, please take and cover your feet. You are walking on an original Roman mosaic. This floor is 2,000 years old. It was moved from the period of discovery, the ancient city of Austin, and it was recomposed here as a carpet for the Pope's Museum. Not piece by piece, of course, they were used to cut the decoration in big blocks. So, puzzle block by block, just to embellish the Pope's Museum, the Pope's place. This one too was designed in the 1700s for the brand new museum. If you read on the top of the door, there's the Pope's name, Pius Sextus. That's the Pope who opened the museums in the 1700s for the first time. This room is dedicated to Dionysus and the Muses. The female statues all around us are the Muses, the daughters of Zeus. In this room, there's another very special statue. Is the Belvedere Torso. Belvedere Torso is another inspiration for the Michelangelo style in the Sistine Chapel. Michelangelo copied the statue to paint Jesus and Saint Bartholomew in the Last Judgment. Do you remember Jesus the Judge? While he was moving the bodies and the soul, so that's the same position of the shoulders, it's the same position of the legs, and it's the same rotation of the body. That's an original Greek statue sculpted in the 2nd century AD. If you come closer a bit, you can notice on the base the original inscription. That's the signature of the artist, written in ancient Greek. So for this object, we can know it for sure, the name and the family name of the artist. His name was Apollonio. Nestoros means son of Nestor. Athenaeus was a king from Athens. This statue too, in the 1500s, was placed in the Belvedere Garden. That's why his name is Belvedere Torso. We can walk on the left side. We can just cross this room on our left. That's the so-called small pantheon because of the shape. It's an enormous round room, but mainly because of the ceiling. The ceiling is an imitation of the ceiling. In this room, the floor is an original Roman floor. And the statue placed on our right, the bronze one, was made by Romans in the mid-century AD. That's the biggest bronze statue conserved from the ancient world. It's 4 meters high, that's why it's the biggest. Placed very center of this room is supposed to be the personal bath of Emperor Nero. That's a monolithic object. It means that just one piece, one block of marble was carved
Wow.
to produce the Nero's bath.
That's crazy. I can barely draw anything. And the idea of carving something out of a huge block of stone and not messing up is just it's magical. It's magical to me. It's just
So, this room is the so-called the Greek cross room because of the shape. But this room so in the 1500s, people used the steps to come in. They moved through this room and through the door. The door behind us is the original 1700 door, framed by two Egyptian statues. They are actually Roman copies of Egyptian statues, because cut into the Egyptian style, so they were used to copy the Egyptian object, but they are original Roman, original Egyptian statues are.
Because heaven forbid you should use anything else but Rome.
On the floor there's another original decoration. Actually just the brown decoration is the original Roman one. The white frame was added in the 1700 to complete the decoration. There's a staircase. Now walking through the staircase, we are now reaching the long gallery I showed you before. So the connection between the palace was behind us. Okay, so I'm sorry. One more staircase.
I'm just gonna sit a minute. The showcase based on that on the right is dedicated to the object placed in a tomb of a prince and a princess. That's why we can see chariots and lots of jewels and enormous pots because Etruscans believed as the Egyptians, so they were used to
life objects in the home for the daily life of the life. As I told you, the palace originally was a residence, and that's the we read before when we were in the Pinecone courtyard. That's an example of contrasting statues dedicated to mats. As you can notice, the statue still conserves the original ivory eyes.
Hey, yeah, lay down the side.
Oh.
The entire southwest city of Rome.
Oh, look how big that is.
Yeah.
There's a small plaque painted. That's just an example of how vibrant the colors were. They were used to paint the male bodies in red, the female bodies in white, so we can recognize them just observing the colors.
Interesting. Yeah. More stairs. Yay.
Dedicated to the production of cotton bases. So it was expired by the Commission production in the the top of the Pinecone courtyard. So we're now in the Renaissance Palace. Guys, take a look through this window. We are behind the pine can, behind the bronze pine can.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, there's a beer. By a geometrical composition of blocks.
He doesn't sit still.
He went to the bathroom down here.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, so that's the gallery of the candelabras, gallery of the candlesticks, because of the marble candlesticks. So, in this long gallery divided in a three shoulder galleries, you're gonna just walk slowly, slowly through them. But that's just another example of while walking, if you take a look to your left, there
When you compare the roads, all they were.
1880, Republic of 13. Despite the current one, the current pope decided to be named Leo 13 because of Leo 13. So it was to be painted and a new decoration for the floor. That's why you put your that's the pope's crest. The pope used his crest. Pardon? The name? So not on the crest. We can read his name on the ceiling. We're going to read his name one more
These are all by the cloud.
That's why he has recognized the flowers. As kind of a friend. The next gallery is the Gallery of Tapestries because of the different collection of tapestries within it. In the gallery too, we just walk slowly. We don't stop in this gallery.
Go.
the left side was designed by the students of Raffaello in the 1500s. Between the 20s and the 30s and the 1500s, the collection is dedicated to the events in Jesus' life. The designers were the students of Raffaello, the artist instead, who made the Raffaello's school project, was a flag artist. Place on the right side, there's the second collection of tapestries. The collection is a 1600 collection of tapestries. Designed and made in a very small workshop in Rome, so that's an example of a local style, and it's dedicated to Pope's life, Urbano the Eighth. We can know for sure because of the Pope's crest with the 3 Ds placed into the decoration. That's why we can know for sure this collection was designed and made in the 20s of the 1600s. The biggest tapestry is placed on the left side, is dedicated to the resurrection of Jesus. The peculiarity of the tapestry is Jesus himself, because while walking, observing Jesus, you can notice he's always watching and following in a very traditional Renaissance style. Can you see it? Jesus watching?
His eyes.
Exactly. That's a very specific 1500 optical illusion. Another optical illusion in this gallery is the decoration of the ceiling. Because when you can see it's just painted, it's totally flat.
It's supposed to look like bas relief fill.
That's an imitation.
Tomorrow, 11:45.
This gallery is a 1500 designed and painted under 1500. In this gallery, is divided on our left, there's the west coast. On our right, there's the east coast. Italy is also divided in 40 geographical maps, 20 of them on one side, 20 of them on the other side. That's why that's the gallery of maps. So, the designer of this gallery was a geographer. His name was Ignazio Danti. In his project, walking through this gallery, we are walking through Italy. That's why behind us there's Sicily, where the very close. The original outfit was developed from the north to the south, observing the ceiling. The decoration painted on the ceiling looked upside down, but it's not. The panels were just painted and regarded from the other side. So, this gallery was painted when this place was the Pope's residence. That's why the Pope wanted a monument because in the 1500s Italy was not unified. Italy was divided into several races, and so the bathroom is at the very end of the pathway.
Thank you.
Should get a low jack.
Huh?
Should get a low jack
Yeah.
since he wanders off all the time.
Unified by Christianity. Italy in this gallery is a Christian land. Now, if you take a look to the left side, you're very close by Campania, the region of Naples. City of Naples and all the other main cities are always painted twice. You can see them painted into the territory, and then in the corner side On the top of the door, there's this gallery.
At least 2,000.
Exactly.